All right, you touched on it earlier. This is going to be an interesting matchup, as last week was, on the defensive lines. Obviously, the Rams with an all-time great in Aaron Donald, and the Browns with a really dinged-up and highly ineffective Myles Garrett. Didn't really turn into the showdown that we thought it would be, and obviously these guys are never on the field at the same time, but you're comparing production. You're looking at what Myles Garrett's going to do, and then you're also going to compare it to what Josh Allen is doing. Who do you guys have more confidence in being a deciding factor in this football game? Who's going to have the bigger impact?
Can we start with a different question to get to this?
Sure.
I just don't know how healthy Myles is.
That's part of my answer.
I mean, that's part of everybody's
answer. The Myles
answer.
against L.A. was rendered ineffective. Now, he still had a decent PFF grade. Myles being on the field, just himself on the field, if he had 2 casts on his arm and 2 casts on his legs, he would still draw double teams on every pass rush attempt. So he has the gravitational pull that other guys don't have just by his mere presence. But I don't know if he's 50% healthy, 70% healthy, 90% or 30%.
He said afterwards it didn't bother him.
Well, it didn't look like that from watching him. I'll just say it like that because the Rams' offensive line isn't particularly great, and he put up a goose egg. And I understand stats don't tell the full story. He was getting chipped and double-teamed, and the Rams were focusing and sliding protections to his side.
And they schemed for him very, very effectively.
And kudos to Sean McVay for doing that.
And you're able to do that because nobody else stood up. I think you said yesterday, if you start a game and you're double-teaming somebody and
the other guys have to
beating
win.
you every play, you start sliding a third player over. That never happened. In fact, there were times where he wasn't double-teamed. I noticed a couple different occasions where the Rams felt like they could take him with one guy, and that nobody else on our defensive line stood up. And that I think was the difference in the football game. Stafford wasn't even dirty at the end.
And Flacco wasn't dirty till the very end. Like
right.
The offensive line held up for 3.5 quarters. That last 7-minute stretch from the interception on, and once they knew it was a passing situation, the Rams were able to pin their ears back and get after him. But based on my inability to know how healthy Myles is, despite the fact that Jacksonville's left tackle got hurt on the same play Trevor Lawrence did.
He did.
Walker Little, who'd been playing very well this season, and he'd been in and out with Cam Robinson. They've been switching left tackles, but when he'd been playing, he'd been healthy. I'm not sure who their left tackles. I haven't heard an update from Doug Peterson on
They
Walker
haven't
Little.
given us one yet.
Despite that, just because I don't know how healthy Myles is, if you're telling me I get L.A. Myles versus the Josh Allen we saw destroy Cincinnati's offensive line, he has 7 sacks in his last 4 games, I don't know how you go against Josh Allen. He's been one of the hottest pass rushers in football over the last month. He has more sacks than Myles on the season. These two in a head-to-head matchup, it's never, like Jay said, it's never them on the field against each other, but when you're going for these all-pro votes, there's only 4 defensive end edge rusher spots. Myles is 5th in sacks now. Josh Allen's 4th. It's not a sack number that creates it, but I just don't know how you go against Josh Allen in this sense because you have no certainty of how healthy Myles is. He said he was healthy after L.A., but you can't tell me you watched that game and saw the same level of Myles Garrett that we had seen the previous couple weeks. And I'm not one to call Myles a liar. He shouldn't lie. He shouldn't say he's banged up. Don't give anything away, but I think he's closer to 50% than 100%.
So I think
give me Josh Allen over Myles Garrett.
Before you can answer this question, you have to sort of dive into giving an educated guess on where you think he's going to be. That's what I did when I started thinking about what he's going to be able to give the Browns Sunday. I'll let you go first. I mean, you can either talk to how healthy you think he's going to be based on where he was Sunday, or just go for it and say based on where he was in L.A. I mean, if we get L.A. Myles, no. I don't think this is even a conversation. Josh Allen is playing his best football, the best football of his career.
He is. I will say, this is what I'll say. West Coast is tricky. Just being out on the West Coast is just tricky for Cleveland. I don't know what it is.
0-9.
It's tricky for a lot of teams.
They haven't won a West Coast game.
But I don't think you can use that as an excuse because they were acclimated to the time zone.
I ain't worried about that. I'm just saying it's just weird.
Just playing in California.
Everybody, it's just weird out there. It's just weird when when Cleveland plays the West Coast, whether it's basketball, baseball,
not good.
Whatever, it's just weird.
Okay.
However,
so you think that was
it's an anomaly.
Okay, that's what I'm waiting for.
It's an anomaly. I ain't going against Myles. All right, Myles is going to be the one that's going to make the bigger impact in this game. Why do I say that? I say that because now that they're back at the Browns Stadium, where does the Browns play their best?
At home.
Exactly. So with that being said, it's going to be so much energy there that even if
Where does Jacksonville play their best?
on the road, but who's missing the left tackle?
Both teams.
Technically,
Yeah,
we
I mean,
are
we
too,
both-
but you know what I mean. We ours.
No, I don't.
The one that we had was playing that played last week is playing this week.
Yeah, but come on.
What? What?
Is that who the Browns broke camp with, saying is going to be their left tackle? I didn't even know the guy's name when they broke camp.
He wasn't on the
Have
team
you
when they broke
noticed
camp.
him?
I'll give you that.
Drunk Christian's played well. Now,
He even graded out well.
he graded out well. Stefanski last week was a little
he
different.
Played well.
But the Browns have gone to a lot quicker passing concepts to get the
Yeah.
ball out, so they don't have to rely on Jerron Christian
Yes.
to hold up. But he's done a really good job.
And the play
All right,
action
so-
thing neutralizes the defensive rush.
So the reason I'm going with Myles over Josh Allen is for that reason right there. I think Kevin Stefanski does a really good job with the bootlegs, with the running the ball. I think he'll be more running the ball this week.
I do too.
I think both teams are really trying to run the ball more.
Yeah.
However, Joe Flacco is the more of the vet in this situation, so he knows that pressure's coming. He knows he got a clock in his head. He knows to get rid of the ball. CJ, I told you, I played with him. CJ is the guy that's going to try to make a play that with his legs if he needs to extend plays.
Is he mobile?
It's a little bit.
I think he's just mobile enough.
Yeah, he's mobile enough.
I wouldn't
more
put him in
mobile
the
than
mobile
Flacco.
quarterback
Right.
camp.
Yeah.
But
which I think is going to get him in trouble. That's what I.
Oh, really?
That's why I think Myles is going to end up getting a sack
Interesting. I
because I
think
think
that-
he's going to try to see. He's going to see something and try to extend.
He
it,
will leave
and
the pocket.
and he's going to run into a sack. That's
okay,
what I
well,
think.
that would be great.
That's a good point.
Here's my answer to it, and it's just based on the information I currently have.
Mm-hmm.
He's hurt. He can tell us he's not hurt all he wants to tell us he's not
he's
hurt.
hurt.
We all remember the image of him from 2 weeks ago when he couldn't lift his left arm. We also remember that Mary Kay told us that he had to have assistance putting his shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
We've all had injuries like that. They do get better in time, typically not in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know he did look better in terms of the things he was able to do with his arm last Sunday, but he didn't look like Myles Garrett. And if you study the box score, he was invisible. He didn't make the trip to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I have to weigh that into the equation. And we're comparing him to a guy who is already an elite player, who, oh, by the way, happens to be playing at the best level of his entire career. I think Myles was, for the year, playing at his best level. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope we see a burst from him in a play early in the game to let us at least relax and knowing that, oh, he has it in the tank this week, unlike last week. But if I have to bet money on who's going to have the bigger impact, I have to go with Allen because I just think it's the smart play right now.
If they're both healthy, right?
Then give me Myles.
It's Myles every day.
I don't even think about it.
So at what percentage of health does Myles have to be? Do you think is 90% of Myles Josh Allen, is 85, 80, 70?
I'll know it when I see it, and I haven't seen it yet.